Okay, this is my next project. This is a solid cherry mid-century piece that was chosen out of my inventory and customized. So I know we're painting it. Don't hate me for that, but it's got some damage here. It looks like something was set on here and just melted the finish. This is, as I said, yeah, solid wood piece made by Mainline. Solid cherry. Has this cool drawer here. Folds down. Pretty cool. The hardware is getting removed, and we're going to be doing double pulls on all the drawers. Possibly knobs on here, depending on, just once I get it done, depending on the look, because I'm going to be coordinating this with some nightstands. All right, I'm going to dive in and get this going today. Okay, let's get started. And I always start cleaning with Crud Cutter. Just trying to get rid of years of furniture polish, wax, and then right to taking off the hardware. These were kind of a challenge. Of course, they've been there for 50, 60 years, but they didn't want to come off. I always wonder, why did they make these screws? They're so shallow. They look like a Phillips, but in no way is a Phillips screwdriver going to fit in there. You have to use a flathead. Was it just so that you had options with your flathead to either go there or there? And even the flathead barely grabs it because it's so flat. Okay, so I've got to address these sticky drawers. You can even see there's some wear here because these fit so tightly, but I don't want to paint them because that's just going to take the paint right off. These fit very tight as well. I tried moving them around, but these actually have to go in this spot because there's a flange underneath here, there's one up here. This is the pattern of these drawers. So I think what I'm going to do first is address this drawer. I'm going to use these little plastic drawer guides. Over the years, the drawers with the wood on wood have worn the area down, which makes the drawers sit on top of each other. So I'm using some needle nose pliers and a hammer, and I'm just going to put these right in place. It's like a nail with a plastic part on the top, one on both sides. Hopefully this is going to be the fix for the spacing on the drawers. Well, since I can see that that helps so much, I'm going to go ahead and put them on all the drawers. A lot of times this is part of the problem is just worn. However, this did create another problem with raising it up a little, made it fit too tight. They weren't going all the way because these sit into the cabinet, they weren't going all the way in. So I spent the next hour or so just sanding the edges. It doesn't take much, but just getting them so that they fit into the cabinet easily. I have an 80 grit sanding net or mesh on my sander. It really really helps to remove as much as possible. Now we have a nice even gap all the way across, so there's room for paint without scraping. Awesome. Now I'm going to start sanding the rest of the dresser. I had to address that area in the top that was probably fingernail polish or something, but it just kind of melted the finish that was on there, so I just had to sand that out. And then I'm just scuff sanding the rest of the entire cabinet. This was in really good condition. Normally I'm fixing 1,000 dings and dents and scrapes. There really was not much here to do. So I'm hand sanding with a sponge, a sanding sponge, the areas that the Orbital couldn't reach, and then just getting everything cleaned up again. Here's a decision I always have to make. Fill that in or sand it. It's such a simple design that I might just fill it in because they never look good painted. I'm going to use Bondo to fill this in. Just mixing the two parts together. And then I have a little Bondo spreader. It's just as simple as work it into that crevice and smooth it out. I don't want to smooth it completely out because Bondo does shrink just a little while it's curing. So you'll see I kind of leave just an extra thickness there so I have something to sand down. And I also know that we're changing out the hardware, so went ahead and filled all of those holes. So now I'm just going to sand all the way around. You'll see it's just going to become a little blue line. Once I get the top sanded, go ahead and finish out the Bondo on the drawers. And then I'm going to go ahead and start measuring because I'm at the point where with this particular one, I'm going to drill my holes ahead of time. I normally do them kind of in between coats of paint, but these sit inside the cabinet and I want to make sure that I can get the drawers in and out. So I'm going to drill the holes ahead of time. I've got to first figure out where am I going to put these. So options are endless at this point. 4 inches from the side, 5 inches from the side, and then I'm going to go ahead and set up my hardware jig. The jig is amazing because I want these all in a line up and down, but every drawer is a different, several drawers are different depths. So I'm measuring and then I have to change my jig and change it around and do the others. One more test just to make sure that's really where I want them. I think we're good to go there. Yep. So you see I'm using the 3/16 drill bit. And you can hear my battery is dying. Before you start a project, you should charge your battery. And now I've got a gigantic battery, so I'll be just fine for the rest of this project. So now on to the other drawers, and see I have to readjust my jig for the depth of this drawer. The bottom 3 drawers are all the same. The jig's great. You set it up for one side and you just flip it over to do the other one. And now with the drawer on the top, I have this set up just for the center because I want it centered in between the handle, so in between the other 2 holes. So I just put the hole right in the middle because I'm going to put a knob there. That drawer was just too narrow to put another pull there, so I'm going to do a knob. I'm just going to finish drilling all the holes. And I don't know why I'm going about them in the pattern that I am. It's weird. I'm all over the place. On the bottom, and then I'm in the middle, and then I go to the right side and the left side. I don't know. I'm just vacuuming up all of the sawdust from drilling all the holes. This is why I wanted to drill the holes at a time. These are those long adjustable screws that everybody gets when you buy hardware. I never use them. I use them for this. So once I have the holes drilled, I'll put one on each side of the drawer, some painter's tape behind it, and these will become temporary handles. So I can move these drawers safely in and out. Time to set up my spray tent. This is a Wagner large spray tent. And into the booth we go. I always test my paint primer on this piece of cardboard. I've painted it about 50 times. This is the funnest part when you go from your scuffed up wood and start putting on primer, get everything all evened out. I'm using Insl-X Sticks Primer, and I have this tinted in gray. We are going to be painting this a very light white color. I still use gray primer because I feel that it just has the best coverage. So there it is, and we're gonna let that sit for a while and dry. And then I'm gonna come back with my sanding sponge. I love these, they're super flexible. This is a 320 grit that's been well used, so it's probably even higher than that at this point. But I'm just gonna sand the entire surface. Sanding primer is my favorite. It's the best time to, one, notice any imperfections, but also get everything super smooth and ready for paint. That was just water that I was spraying on a microfiber cloth. I feel like it's the best tack cloth ever. It gets everything out. So now I'm gonna prepare my paint. I'm straining it. I just have a little tea strainer there. I add some water to it, and I don't measure, but that's the consistency that I want. It's about an ounce of water to every 8 ounces or so of paint, approximately. Back to that piece of cardboard. Just testing everything out, want to make sure my settings are good, and then start with the paint. Transformation in process. It's such a beautiful, this is one of my favorite whites. This is called DUNE by Benjamin Moore. It looks white on the top until you start painting white and you're like, oh, that really was gray. You see I'm overlapping each pass. It's a nice even coat, but oh no. Do you see those like orangey spots? That is bleed through. So now I have to go in with an oil-based shellac spray, and let's see, we've done primer and a coat of paint and it's still bleeding through. So it's not going to stop, even if I did 8 layers of paint. So we go in with the shellac-based spray primer. It will seal everything in. I sanded it after that coat, and now I'm going in with another coat of paint. And I'm painting primer on the drawers, just on the edges. This is what gets missed with the drawers inside the cabinet, and then follow up with the paint. So those go through the same layers. I just pull them out and do them separately because they don't get sprayed with the drawers in. Painting with the drawers in is the best way to go. Just getting the sides, making sure not to touch those dovetails. Okay, now I'm going to go in with another coat of paint because I want to now sort of blend everything together with the, just painting the edges. Sometimes it gets paint on the front, and I want another nice solid coat of paint. This should be the last coat. However, I just discovered that this crease in between the molding on the front, you can see the seam. I hate that. So I'm going to use just some caulking. This is painter's caulk. Exactly what this is made for. I mist it with a tiny bit of water and then use my finger. My finger works better than any tool, and smooth that out, and that little space there just disappears. However, caulking will yellow over time, so even though it looked like it matched, it will turn yellow, so you always have to paint it. So I am just going in with a little more paint. I want to make sure that caulking is covered. Now that I'm done with painting, I'm going to dump the rest of the paint back into my can. I did not clean out my spray gun. I'm just adding some TopCoat. Stir it all up, and I have now tinted my TopCoat. This keeps it from yellowing, especially with white paint, and it will just help to keep this a real consistent, true white, but also adding all of that durability that comes with a nice TopCoat. In between layers of TopCoat, I am going back in with that same sanding sponge. More TopCoat. I did 3 layers. I'm not going to show all of them. Okay, everything is dry with the paint and the TopCoat, and I'm going to line the top drawer. Everything was beautiful with the interior of these drawers except for the top one. I think they must have had ink pens or something up there. So it had some stains in it I just couldn't get out. So I thought I'd just put a really pretty coordinating paper in there. I measured the drawer and I measured the paper. I am one that likes to just have it fit. I don't want to put it in and then have to cut it with an X-Acto knife because I feel like I can't ever get straight lines that way. So I make sure that the paper fits first. So I'm just dry fitting it. I took the backing off and then had to keep trying it. Okay, the struggle is real here. Most of the time I can pop that in the drawer and be done, but this one I had to keep taking out, put it in, take it out, put it in like 5 times. But I finally got it. I'm using a plastic putty knife, smooth it all out. Here goes the hardware, and you know what that means. This one is just about done. Last little finishing touches of like adding the jewelry to this beautiful dresser. Those pulls really made it. And here it is, all finished. The coordinating, beautiful drawer liner. This dresser really is a thing of beauty. I hope you like it. Make sure you follow for more.